Hey guys, this is Master Thorn with the Edge Martial Arts, and I'm going to give you some information about how stripe testing and belts and that stuff kind of works for beginners. Essentially what happens is when you start out, you're going to have your white belt, right? Simple. Everyone starts at white belt. It's pure. There's no contamination. There's nothing added, and it's just a white belt, right? And then obviously a black belt is the most full color. It's got the most information in it. So that simple learning process is white, beginner, black belt, expert. Okay. Now there's a bunch of steps in the middle to get there, though. If you look at belts, you're going to start to see that people have stripes on them. Right? Different colored belts. Essentially, the stripes is the most thing you're going to be interested right now. If we are a student that is 13 and older, this red stripe information doesn't directly apply to you. Okay, you still want to do it, but you won't actually have a red stripe on your belt. For the students who are 12 and under, this applies to you. And what this is when we first have a belt, there's no stripes. Kind of looks like this. And then after class, we're going to have the student go sit next to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, whoever the guardian is, whoever's bringing them down. So that's very important. After the first class, if we can get some time, usually we just make sure we make it, we're going to have the student go sit next to you. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to come over. We'll do all the talking. But we want to make sure that they understand that you're a big part of this. And we tell them that the first stripe they're going to earn on their belt, like you see all the rest of the kids have, is a red stripe. And we'll show them, a piece of red tape, and we say, okay, here's how this works. If you want that red stripe on your belt, you're going to have to do a couple things. You're going to have to work hard here. You're going to have to work hard outside of here. And we say, who do you think is in charge of whether or not you're doing what you're supposed to do when you're not here, right? And then we try to get them to tell us, you are, right? And if they don't, then we'll just tell them, you are. And then what happens, we say this red stripe isn't like a karate move you can learn to do. The red stripe is discipline and respect. Respect is being polite, saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, thank you, please, holding the door, helping people out, right? That's what respect is. The other side is discipline. Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do. Like today you were holding still for me in class. That was awesome. That's what we want to do. Now when mom and dad are home and they're talking to you, are you holding still also, right? Are you doing the things mom and dad tell you to do the first time instead of the 13th time they tell you, right? Are you listening to school teachers at home? So we're going to have that chat with them. We're going to say next time you come in, we're going to ask mom, dad, grandpa, grandpa, who's ever in charge, whether or not you deserve to have your red stripe from when you're not here. And then I say, mom and dad, or whoever, is going to talk to you about what things are red stripe things when you go home. This is your great opportunity. You sit them down and you say, hey, are you supposed to have your toys out right now? Is that a red stripe thing? Right? And you get a little bit of power over them, right? Because you're in charge. You come back, you tell me no, they don't get it, right? So I would like it if you could go home and start pointing those things out, right? Because if we team up, if I help and you help, we help each other. So if we look at them and say, when they hear I say, look, that student's trying to help you, is that a red stripe thing? Yes, right? That's great. How does it make you feel when he helps you, right? And when you're at home and you're saying, it's time to turn off the games, it's time to get ready for bed, and they're arguing, you say, is arguing a red stripe thing? Is that a respectful, good, disciplined thing to do when I'm trying to tell you to do something, right? And then we kind of have that double team action going on. So the red stripe will be something that'll go on their belt if they are performing in the classroom, like a respectful, disciplined person, and they are doing it at home, school, grandma's, Target, whatever it might be. Right? So it's going to be me, the instructor, or one of the other instructors agreeing they have the classroom aspect, and you as the parent. Now, if you come in and you don't want them to have their red stripe yet, this is very simple. After that next class, when they came back in, I'm going to sit them down next to you again and say, hey, we were going to get a red stripe today, but I need to find out if you're doing the stuff you're supposed to be doing at home. And then I'll look to you and I'll say, are they ready for the red stripe? And you simply say yes or no. And I'll say, is there anything they're working on? If you say no. And if the answer is no, you say, yes, they're working on listening when I tell them to do something, right? And then I say, hey, that's a big part of being a martial artist. You have to have discipline. You need to listen when they talk to you. So that's the red stripe. Now, after you have a red stripe, or if you're 13 or older, you don't need one, we get 4 black stripes on our belt before we progress to the next belt. So what happens is your first black stripe is going to be a little bit different if you're in our preschool program, and a little bit different if you're not. So anyone who's in the preschool program, the first stripe is going to be simply comprehension, which means if I say get in a Muay Thai stance and one hand is up and one hand is down, that's not a Muay Thai stance. If they understand that means both hands are up, that's comprehension. They get it. Muay Thai is this one. It's not this one, right? It's not putting their hands in their pocket. That would be comprehension, right? So it's going to be comprehension on a specific number of techniques for each belt level. That's their first stripe. Second stripe is going to be body mechanics, right? So now their hands aren't quite down here, they're up. They might not be the right perfect distance, but they're up. You know, they're not in the wrong spot, okay? The next stripe is going to be mechanics, right? So now, you know, their arm starts to become 90 degrees. Now they're starting to follow all the mechanics. Fourth stripe is going to be they can move around, they can do these things. So if they're throwing a jab, it's not just throwing it out, right? They're starting to jab out and back and so on. So once they've achieved 4 black stripes in that program, we will talk to you and say, okay, when's the next time you're coming in? We're ready to test them for their next belt. They'll stick around after class, and we'll do the belt ceremony at that time. Okay, if you're the 7 and up program, so you're not in a preschool program. Sometimes we do have preschoolers who move up early. So anyone in that program, you get stripes based on completing sections. So if we are doing striking, let's say it's Monday and we're doing striking, right? And you're going through class, and you're doing your jabs, you're doing your punches, you're doing your knee strikes, you're doing all those things properly. And we sign off on those techniques, meaning you comprehend, you have basic mechanics, you've got the right mechanics, you're pivoting, you're blocking, right, your movement, your distance, your stance, all good. So we sign off on those things. After getting a specific number of techniques signed off in striking, you get a stripe. So 1 stripe is for striking, 1 is for sparring, 1 is for stand-up defense, and 1 is for grappling. Now, you could do it in any order. Some people get their grappling stripe first because they like that better. Some people get their sparring stripe first because they like that better. It doesn't matter which order you go in. We have cards, the student cards, we track all the information so we know what people have signed off. So one belt you might get striking first, the next belt you might get the stand-up first, and it kind of goes all over the place. But once you have all your stripes, you test also. So now, being a white belt or being in our little kids program, your testing is just going to be scheduled after class. We'll say, congratulations, you have all your stuff down, you're complete. Do you have time to stick around after one of the classes coming up? We're going to test you for your next belt. So that's something to think about. That's how that belt process works. Now, the higher up you get, which is down the road, we start to test on monthly exams and put the pressure on you a little bit more. So if you have any further questions, feel free to ask your instructors how that works, or if you can grab me if I'm running around and you get a chance, or you can just send me an email. Thanks.